done for. Everyone get out.
Greetings sailors and welcome back to World of Warships. This is one of my own games. This is from October, I think. I've been holding on to this one for a little while, and I figured it's about time I put one of my own Warships replays up, because actually it's been a little while since the last one. This was a top tier Fuso game, and as you probably already know, I really like the Fuso. I was actually still grinding through to the Nagato at this point, and well, I've now gone through the Nagato and have unlocked the Amagi, but I still don't quite have enough credits for it yet. Tier 8 ships are rather expensive. The high tier economy in warships is definitely harsher. I'm starting to get to that stage where I'm actually feeling it quite a lot. So, I mean, I've heard this from other people, but it kind of seems like, whereas in World of Tanks, it is viable to play high tier machines like tier 9 and tier 10 just on a regular basis. I mean, you needed a premium account to do it, really. But even in warships with a premium account, tier 9 and especially tier 10 are more kind of like, well, showing off your grinding skills, I suppose. You know, hey, look at me, I've got a Yamato or a Montana. I said that in a weird way. Anyway, but the Fuso, I mean, is nowhere near that stage. I think tier 6, tier 7, you can still reasonably expect to turn a profit. And the Fuso especially, I just think it's a really nice ship. Now that was a very nice salvo that, well, that guy was sort of reasonably low health anyway, but I think the Fuso is just, because it has so many guns, you don't feel the RNG of the dispersion quite so much. I don't think it's that it's especially super accurate, it's just that you have more chances with the shells you get. And I think the New Mexico is the same. I think the New Mexico actually has the same number of guns. But with the Fuso, it's a big step up from the previous ships. The Kawachi's pretty horrible. The Miyogi's not bad, it just feels a bit undergunned. It's at least reasonably fast and not very armoured, but speed sometimes, I mean, I would say for someone wanting to try out battleships, go for the Japanese battleships, because you get to the Miyogi and then the Kongo, and they've got a reasonable turn of speed to work with. So the Kongo's kind of the same. I mean, you get better firepower than the Miyogi, but it's not until you get to the Fuso where you really start to feel like you've got proper battleship firepower. And this target right here, oh yeah, broadside of an Aoba. Now he's pressed rather incautiously forward, and that was just, it doesn't get better than that. So I've done over half his health. I mean, I'm actually, you might notice on the minimap and from the bottom left hand corner, I'm actually turning my ships because I'm well within torpedo range of this guy. So this is just a precautionary measure. I know I'm within torp range, so although, there we go, I do take him out just on the off chance he put torps in my direction. That's one of the things when you're playing a battleship, you absolutely have to pay attention to things that might be able to torpedo you, and unless you get surprise ambush, which will sometimes happen, obviously mostly by destroyers, if you're paying attention, you can mostly do something to avoid torpedoes, and it does help an awful lot if you know there's torpedo capable ships around to vary your speed and course. And I think that's a bit less painful in the Japanese battleships just because they have more speed to work with, whereas in the American battleships, if you do a lot of manoeuvring, well, the rudder shift is generally better in American battleships, and because they're slower, they generally have smaller turning circles as well. But the amount of speed that you do bleed off when you're making those kind of manoeuvres, well, you don't have a lot of speed to begin with. So I've got 3 citadels, 2 kills. Can I get another one? I was spreading my shots rather a lot there, but no, somebody else manages to kill that Cleveland, so never mind. It does look like there's not a lot on this flank that can seriously challenge me. I mean, I've taken out, what was it, 2 Aobas so far, if I'm keeping track correctly. And the only battleship on this side is an Imperator Nikolai. 2 tiers lower than me, but you know, if I sail in a stupid fashion, you know, if I give this guy a broadside to shoot at, then he could still do a fair whack of damage to me. So just because somebody's a lower tier than you in warships, you still have to treat them with a lot more respect than you would do in World of Tanks faced with a lower tier. You know, if I was in, oh, I don't know, let's say M6 Heavy versus an AMX-40 or an M3 Lee, or I don't even know. There's a lot of tier 4s where if you're in an M6 Heavy and you're facing them frontally, like unless you're being really stupid, and I suppose you know, like the sitting broadside, which would be an equally bad idea in an M6, but unless you're being particularly stupid, you know, you don't really have to worry about them, or in a T150 for instance versus any of those machines. Whereas in World of Warships, the tiering matters less. Well, I did a whole video on this, but it pays to treat your opponents with respect, especially the torpedo equipped opponents, regardless of their tiers. Now, I will say also in a battleship, it is particularly useful to know at least roughly the kind of torpedo ranges of destroyers that you're going to be facing. So it's not like I've been through and memorized all the stats of every single ship, but I at least have a rough idea of torpedo ranges, tier per tier and nation per nation. So that particular bit of knowledge, I think, is going to be one that, well, you need to know the safe ranges, basically. You need to know how close people are before you have to worry about there being torps in the water. So we've pushed up this flank rather nicely. I mean, I've not been the only one doing damage here. I've actually only done 32k so far, and although I got 2 kills, I mean, I've been relatively lucky with the citadels, actually, in this match. This was an 05-03 game, I think, so this was after they fixed the Citadel issue. Or was it before the Citadel issue? I can't remember. But anyway, there we go. Another pair of Citadels and another Aoba down. I think I killed all 3 enemy Aobas in this game, actually, unless I am miscounting and misremembering. What was one of my kills? I can't remember. At least 2 of them have been Aobas, I'm not sure. Anyway, this Farragut is getting rather close. I think he's got, is it 6.5 kilometer torpedoes? Having said I've memorized all the torpedo ranges, I haven't exactly. I'm a bit more sketchy on the American ones, but anyway, I was basically playing with my speed and course a bit there, just on the off chance that there were torps coming in my direction, but it was much more likely to have put torps out against the closer Omaha or Nicholas, so that was just, I don't know, good practice, I suppose. It was useful to, I mean, you just can never afford to be complacent around torpedoes. Now, I got a bit lucky in this game in that I don't think their carrier came for me once. I think their carrier was actually focused on the other side, so I had a relatively easy time of it as far as that goes. And because the Fuso doesn't get a catapult fighter, I think you only get that from tier 7 upwards with the Japanese battleships, you're more reliant on your teammates for anti-aircraft cover. So, meanwhile, I mean, on the other side of the map, it was a bit of a stiff fight over there. You can see that most of the enemy team has died, but they did prevail in the end. But they're now turning back to try and defend their own cap, because of course we've pushed around this side. So we have the numbers advantage. I am still very high health. I haven't even had to use a repair yet, which has been quite nice. But that is an enemy Fuso that's coming back, and although he has got a destroyer that's closing up quite close behind him, again, I don't want to be complacent here. I don't want to give this guy my broadside, because I know the power of a Fuso broadside. And there we go. Now, he's in a bit of a bind, because he's got to maneuver to avoid the Mutsuki, which is the much closer problem. And that means he's opening himself out to broadsides from me. And there we go, 2nd Citadel in a row. So I actually was doing rather well for Citadels in this particular game. He did manage to avoid, I think, most, if not all, of those Mutsuki torpedoes. And there we go, another volley out. Maybe more hits out of that. Another Citadel would be nice. No, sadly not. Just a single overpen on the superstructure. And a couple of bounces. So he's put his shots out now towards me. But because I straightened back out, well, it's harder to get your shots on targets advancing exactly towards or away from you. And battleships especially, you've got a better chance of bouncing shots at those angles as well. Although with some cruisers you have to be a bit careful. I mean, for instance, the Cleveland's got a rather broad stern, so if you're exactly pointing your rear towards somebody in a Cleveland, well, it's still got a good chance of penning. Anyway, that's the first real chunk of damage I've taken, but this guy is going down. It's just a matter of, well, can I maybe sneak the kill or not? So getting the turrets on, and he's burning. Will they land in time? there we go. I do actually get a penetrating hit for the kill, so that's rather nice. There is, however, a New York left and another Fuso, and they're actually both within range, but the New York is much easier to hit right now. And the other Fuso, well, he was... well, he's dancing with the Cleveland at the moment. The Cleveland isn't going to survive the battle, unfortunately, but I decide the New York is the better target to fire at, just because, A, he's closer by about 5 kilometers, and also he's also giving me a much nicer target to shoot at. So again, straightening out a bit in between shots. This is a lot easier in something that's faster like the Tirpitz. That's one of the great advantages of the Tirpitz, but you can still do it in a Fuso. You can definitely do it in a Congo. Although one of the forward turrets is slightly awkwardly placed, so that sometimes you only get 5 turrets off if you're at an angle rather than 6. You have to straighten out and do a full broadside to get all 6. I overcooked those a bit, only one overpenned the front of his ship, unfortunately, turning back in. So no more citadels as of yet, but still 7 citadels in a battleship game. That's pretty nice. The RNG gods were looking favourably upon me this day. He's also burning rather nicely. Our Nicholas is closing in on him. We've got a Cleveland and an Omaha, I think, firing at him as well. So it's just a matter of, well, I just don't want to get citadel myself. I'm just playing it slightly cagey. Now, I actually make the decision to, at this point, rather than keep firing at him on my starboard side, I can still fire the front guns, obviously, the 2 forward turrets. But I make the decision to turn the rest of my turrets, my midships and stern turrets, all the way around. And this takes a while. Not as long as, say, in a Warspite. Oh, there we go. There's a Confederate medal. Rather nice. But still, I mean, it's a bit of a time-consuming decision, and it probably wasn't the right one to make, or at least in terms of getting the kill, because by the time my turrets are making it around, well, my front turrets have just loaded in again, but my mid and rear turrets aren't quite there yet. So there we go. Somebody else actually manages to get the kill. And the Fuso is on the other side of me, so now I've got to turn those turrets all the way back again. Yes, it wasn't really the best planning in terms of like turret management. I think it's not so bad in the Japanese ships. I think the Americans have fairly bad turret turn times, and the Warspite has absolutely horrendous turret turn times. I wonder if that's going to be a feature of the British battleships. So it's going to be ultra important in the Brits. But we're also capping, so it looks like this Fuso and the carrier are going to get away with it. But I might just be able to sneak an extra couple of shots in. And there we go, an extra nearly 8k damage. So I've ended this battle with, well, going to end this battle with over 100,000 damage. And I think over 100k damage, you know, that's a pretty good result in a battleship. If you can get over 100k, you know you've done all right. So 7 citadels, I mean, that was a big chunk of that damage. I mean, that's how much is it per shell on that? I can't even remember that, but that's got to be like, I don't know, 60, 70k damage, potentially. Of course, some of those citadels were against low health targets, so they're not all full damage citadels. But regardless, it was enough to put me at the top of the team, as you can see. 114,000 damage, 49 hits out of 218. So actually, that's probably not too bad out for battleship accuracy. That's something less than a quarter of the shells actually hitting something, but still, that's not too bad. And I've actually got a profit screen on there as well, just because, well, even without premium, this would have been a rather profitable battle, over 200k credits made. So, yeah, if you can do the damage, and obviously I didn't have much of a repair cost in that one, even without a premium account, up to the mid-tiers, you can still pull in a reasonable profit. And I think it's going to be like World of Tanks. You just have to hang on to some of those mid-tier ships to keep the credits rolling in, to bankroll the higher tiers, especially if you don't have a premium account. But even if you do have a premium account, I think it's probably still worth doing. And hell, the Fuso I've just kept because I like playing it, basically. And it's been very useful for the ranked battles, actually. I've mostly been playing the current season of ranked battles with the Fuso, and I've been doing all right with that as well. So if you've enjoyed this replay, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.